For the form Titan video. In this video we'll talk about how to automate element alignment using drop correction. It's a new functionality and hopefully it will help you configure your forms and add the spacing as an automation as opposed to doing it manually back in the days. So what I'll do is I'll grab some text box and I'll show you how this works. First of all, I'll uncheck it, so we'll get rid of it for now, and I'll show you live before it. So previously what you would have to do is make sure that any alignments that there were, you would have to align them yourself manually. So for example, if I was to move this in here, nothing will change, and instead I would have to do this manually. So I'd have to move this over here, this one over here, and so and so. But now what we've done is we've added something called drop correction. So the functionality is over here. You will need to check it, and then you can specify the spacing between the elements. So you can call this 5 pixel. I'm just going to leave it to 0. Actually, let's take it to 5 just for the sake of it. Now here's what's going to happen. So if I get a text box and I'll copy and paste this text box again like this, and now if I get a text area and I drop it in between these two, you can see that the space has automatically been assigned to each of these elements, 5 pixel difference between each of these elements. This is super handy and it will save you a lot of time having to do all of this manually. And there are features I want to show you here. For example, if I get rid of this, if I preserve this space, nothing will happen. If I move this back here like this, and then I try to remove this again, but I'll hold on for a couple of seconds, you can see that preserve this space now has gone to remove this space. And if I leave it, you can see it's moved up. So this will allow you to preserve the space if you need to, or remove it if required. And then, again, if I can just go back in there, I can just re-add it back in here. So that's another functionality you need to be mindful of, that if you remove it quickly, then it will preserve the space. But if you leave it there and remove it and then hold for a couple of seconds and you want to preserve that space or remove that space, if you want to remove it, then you just hold and it will go back to preserve space. If you hold it again, it will go to remove it, and then you can remove it. So completely up to you. Now that's one thing. Next we're going to talk about section. What happens if I have a section? So if you have a section, and I'll move this back in here quickly, and then what I want to do is, let's say I'll move this section here, then I'll move 2 of these text boxes below it. Notice what will happen if I try to increase this. You would think it's under, but it's not. That's what happens with drop correction. It will move the elements as you move or increase the section from there on. And then if you take it back, the elements move with it, like this. So it's a very cool functionality, and it works really nicely as well if you want to work with automation alignment here. So again, same thing, if I want to move it down, it will move down. If I want to move it back up, it will move back up by itself. And again, same thing in the section. If I just make this a little bit bigger, and I move this under here, and you can see the section is ever so increasing as I drop in elements between them or underneath them. And that's how it's done. The automate element alignment using drop correction.